Story 1. I've been a trucker for nearly 15 years, hauling goods across the country, mostly at night when the roads are quiet. Back in 2017, I was driving through the Mojave Desert in California, headed for Arizona with a load of appliances. It was one of those pitch black nights, the kind where the darkness swallows everything beyond your headlights. My semi's lights were dim, barely cutting through the void, and I'd been meaning to fix them for months but kept putting it off. Out there, with no other cars around, it was just me, the hum of the engine, and the endless road. I had to squint every few minutes to make out the lines on the pavement, my eyes burning from the strain. Money was tight, so stopping to wait for sunrise wasn't an option. I figured the road was straight enough, and I'd be fine, even if it wasn't the safest choice. About an hour before dawn, something caught my eye in the distance, moving fast. Thinking it might be an animal, I slammed on the brakes, tires screeching as the truck lurched to a stop. There, right in the middle of the road, was a red Ford Fusion, hazard lights flashing, parked dead on the double yellow. The passenger door was wide open, swinging slightly like someone had just jumped out. I stopped maybe a foot from hitting it. I'm not one to scare easily. Years on the road and a few bar fights will do that to you. But this felt off. Curiosity got the better of me. I reversed the truck, pulled over, and stepped out into the warm, still night. The desert was dead quiet, except for the faint click of the car's hazards. No wind, no nothing. Just an eerie calm that made my skin prickle. I walked toward the car, cautious but not panicked, figuring someone might need help. A jump start maybe. The Ford looked new, shiny, under my truck's weak lights. I circled it, peering inside. Empty. Completely empty. I checked the back seat, the floor, even the driver's side. Nobody. The keys were in the ignition, but the engine was off. Now I was uneasy, glancing over my shoulder, feeling like eyes were on me from the dark. It was too quiet, too still, like the desert was holding its breath. I told myself to get back in the truck and drive, but something pulled me to keep looking. I checked the trunk. Locked. I grabbed the keys, tried again, but it wouldn't budge, like it was jammed from the inside. I opened the back door, reached through the seat, and found 3 squishy garbage bags tied with rope, holding the trunk shut. My heart started pounding. I leaned closer, hand inches from a bag, when a gunshot cracked through the silence, loud enough to make my ears ring. I smacked my head on the car roof, pure instinct kicking in. I tossed the keys, bolted for my truck, and scrambled inside. As I started the engine, a gravelly voice shouted, "Hey!" from the darkness, getting closer. I didn't look back. I threw the truck into gear, cursing as it stalled for a split second. In my rear view, I saw him. A short, stocky guy with red hair, overalls, and a hunting rifle. His face wasn't angry, just worried. He waved, yelling, "Wait!" But I floored it, heart in my throat, the desert closing in behind me. I was still green in the trucking game, barely 3 months into my first gig, hauling cargo from southern New Jersey to Lafayette, Indiana. It was a 12-hour slog, and I just wrapped an 8-hour run before that, so my body was screaming for rest. But I was young, eager, and determined to knock out deliveries fast, so I pushed through the night, aiming to hit Lafayette by 3 a.m. The highway was empty, just me and the drone of my semi's engine, the road stretching into the dark. I was running on fumes, mentally and physically, and reached for a Red Bull in the center console, only to realize I'd forgotten to restock after my last drop. I cursed, smacking the dashboard, knowing I'd have to stop. I hate stopping on runs. It's like my brain shuts down the second the truck's still, even for a minute. But falling asleep at the wheel wasn't an option, so I pulled into what I thought was a service stop, probably somewhere in Ohio. It wasn't. It was a deserted gas station, windows boarded, next to a beat-up convenience store that looked like it hadn't seen a customer in years. I parked, figuring I'd check it out before heading to another stop I saw on the GPS. The store's door swung open into pure darkness, which threw me off. I expected it to be locked, or at least lit. I stepped inside, eyes straining, hoping for a stray soda or snack. Nothing. Just as I turned to leave, a faint glow caught my eye from the back corner. Curious, I crept toward it, heart picking up a bit. The light came from a back room, and inside was a plugged-in fridge, humming softly. I opened it, expecting a drink, but it was gutted. Shelves gone, just an empty shell. Weird. As I closed the door, a clatter echoed from the main room, like something had hit the floor. I froze, ears straining. Was that real? I tiptoed back, scanning the dark, but saw nothing. Part of me wanted to poke around, but I didn't have time for this. I jogged to a nearby open store, grabbed an energy drink, and headed back to my truck. Something felt wrong, like the air was too heavy. I glanced at the abandoned store. .its door was open. I'd swear I shut it. Shaking it off, I climbed into my cab and hit the road. The caffeine kicked in, but my mind kept circling back to that fridge. Why was it plugged in? Then, I noticed the curtain behind my seat moving, just slightly, like a breeze was hitting it, but the air was off. My stomach dropped. I checked the rear view, heart hammering, watching the fabric billow. Someone was in my truck. I had no weapons, no plan, just raw panic. I punched the nearest police station into my phone and drove, every second feeling like an eternity, imagining hands reaching for me. When I pulled up to the station, I parked as close as I could and sprinted inside. Cops swarmed my truck, and when they opened the back, I saw them. 3 people, 2 men and a woman, ragged and wrapped in filthy blankets. One guy had switchblades. They didn't say a word, just stared at me with cold, hard eyes as the cuffs went on. I still don't know what they wanted, but that feeling of being watched, trapped in my own rig, it's never left me. Story 2. I'd only been trucking for 3 months, still wet behind the ears, driving a semi from southern New Jersey to Lafayette, Indiana. It was a 12-hour haul, and I'd just finished an 8-hour run before that, so I was running on empty. I was young though, and hell-bent on proving myself, so I decided to drive through the night to hit Lafayette by 3 a.m. The highway was a ghost town, just my headlights cutting through the dark, the engine's low rumble, my only company. I was fighting to stay awake, my eyelids heavy, and reached for a Red Bull in the console. Nothing. I'd forgotten to restock after my last drop. I groaned, slamming my hand on the dash. Stopping was the last thing I wanted. Every time I park, it's like my body shuts down, even for a minute. But I knew I'd either pull over or nod off and crash. So, I veered into what I thought was a service stop, probably somewhere in Ohio. It wasn't. It was a rundown gas station, pumps long dead, next to a convenience store that looked like it hadn't seen life in a decade. I parked the semi, figuring I'd take a quick look before heading to another stop I saw on the GPS. The store's door creaked open into total blackness, which threw me. I expected a lock, or at least a dim light. I stepped inside, the air stale, my boots echoing on the floor. I scanned for anything, a stray soda, a candy bar, but the shelves were bare. Just as I turned to leave, a faint glow flickered from the back of the store. My gut told me to get out, but curiosity pulled me toward it. The light came from a cracked open door to a back room. Inside, a lone fridge hummed, plugged into the wall, its light spilling out. I opened it, hoping for a drink, but it was empty, gutted, not even shelves inside. It was just there, glowing for no reason. As I shut the door, a sharp clatter rang out from the main room like something had fallen. I froze, heart thumping, straining to hear. Nothing. Had I imagined it? I crept back, eyes darting, but the room was still empty. I wanted to keep poking around, but I didn't have time for this crap. I hustled to a lit-up store down the road, bought an energy drink, and jogged back to my truck. The whole stop felt wrong, like something was watching me. I glanced at the abandoned store. Its door was open now. I'd swear I closed it. My skin crawled, but I climbed into the cab and peeled out. The Red Bull kicked in, snapping me out of my fog, but my brain wouldn't let go of that fridge. Why was it on? Who leaves a gutted appliance plugged in? Then I saw it. The curtain behind my seat twitched, like something brushed it. The air was off, no vents, no reason for it to move. My pulse spiked. I checked the rear view, watching the fabric shift again. Someone was back there. I had no gun, no knife, just a phone I fumbled to unlock. I punched in the nearest police station and drove, every mile a nightmare, feeling like something could grab me any second. That feeling, alone, trapped in my own truck, with something hiding just out of sight. It's burned into me forever. I was 3 months into trucking, still learning the ropes, driving through the dead of night from southern New Jersey to Lafayette, Indiana. My body was shot after an 8-hour run before this 12-hour haul, but I was stubborn, pushing to reach my drop by 3 a.m. The highway was empty, just my semi's headlights slicing through the dark, the engine's hum keeping me company. I'd stopped at what I thought was a service stop. Turned out to be a creepy abandoned gas station with a convenience store that looked like it'd been forgotten for years. I'd gone inside, found a glowing fridge that was weirdly empty, heard a strange clatter, and got out fast, grabbing a Red Bull from another store nearby. Back in my truck, the caffeine hit, but something felt off. That's when I noticed the curtain behind my seat moving, just a little, like someone brushed it. My heart sank. The air was off, no vents running, no reason for it to stir. I glanced in the rear view, watching the fabric twitch again, and my stomach twisted. Someone was in my truck. I had no weapons, just my phone, and my hands were shaking as I punched in the nearest police station's address. The drive there was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Every second, I felt eyes on me, like whoever was back there could reach out and grab me. I kept my eyes on the road, too scared to look back, imagining them creeping closer. The darkness outside pressed in, the highway stretching endlessly. No other cars, no help. My mind raced. How did they get in? What did they want? I gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white, praying I'd make it to the station. When I finally saw the police station's lights, I pulled up as close as I could, practically falling out of the cab as I ran inside, babbling about someone in my truck. The cops moved fast, surrounding the semi, and I stood there, heart pounding, as they opened the back. I'll never forget what I saw. 3 people, 2 guys and a woman, looking rough, wrapped in tattered blankets. One of the men had 2 switchblades tucked into his belt. They didn't say a word, just stared at me with these cold, empty eyes as the cops cuffed them. I was shaking, trying to piece it together, but they gave nothing away. The police asked me questions, took a report, but I could barely focus. I kept thinking about that curtain moving, the feeling of being watched in my own truck, my safe space. I don't know how they got in. Maybe when I left the cab to check that store. I don't know what they wanted, and that's what eats at me. Were they just hitching a ride? Or was it something worse? I drove on to Lafayette, but I was a mess, jumping at every shadow. The cops said they'd follow up, but I never heard back. That night changed me. I'm more careful now, always locking the cab, checking the back before I roll. But sometimes when I'm alone on a dark stretch of road, I feel it again. That prickling on my neck, like someone's there, just out of sight. I don't think I'll ever shake that feeling, knowing how close I came to something. Trucking's a lonely job, and out there, in the middle of nowhere, you're on your own. Story 3. My name's Kevin, and I've been a trucker for over 15 years, crisscrossing the country with all kinds of cargo. 4 years ago, I was hauling through North Dakota, one of the flattest states out there, which makes driving a bit easier but doesn't help when you're running on fumes. It was a chilly Tuesday morning in May, and I'd planned a long run into Montana, determined to knock it out without stopping to sleep. I hit the road after lunch, pushing my semi a little over the speed limit, trying to beat the clock. By midnight, I was struggling. My eyes were crusty, burning from staring at the road, and I was fighting to stay awake. I'd been using smelling salts, a trick an old trucking buddy taught me. One whiff of those crystals, and you're wired, though they sting like hell. I took a big sniff, the burn jolting me alert. But it wasn't enough. Past midnight, I started drifting, the truck's tires humming on the shoulder, snapping me back. I knew I was in trouble, but there was nowhere to pull over. Just dark woods on both sides of the highway. I slowed down, scanning for a spot, my headlights barely piercing the night. That's when I saw it. A purple dress, lying smack in the middle of the road. I blinked hard, thinking I was hallucinating from exhaustion. It was real. I eased past it, heart picking up, wondering what the hell was going on. A couple of 100 yards later, I spotted a pair of shoes. Small ones, like a kid's. Now I was spooked. This wasn't right. I kept driving, clutching the old cross necklace my dad gave me, hoping for some kind of protection. Further up, I saw more clothes. Kids' clothes. Boys and girls, scattered across the pavement. My stomach knotted. I stopped the truck, the engine idling, and just sat there staring at the pile. The silence outside was heavy, the kind that makes you feel like you're the only person left in the world. I didn't want to get out, but something about those clothes, tiny shirts and pants, made me think of kids in trouble. Against my better judgment, I stepped out, the cold air biting my skin, waking me up a bit. I approached the pile, moving slow, my boots crunching on the road. It was definitely kids' stuff, some of it looking worn, like it'd been loved. I glanced into the woods, but the dark swallowed everything beyond a few feet. I felt exposed, like something was watching me, waiting. My head was on a swivel, every rustle making me jump. I told myself this wasn't my problem, that I should get back in the truck and go. Then I heard it, a crunch, sharp and close, from the left. I whipped around, staring into the black, my breath catching. Nothing. I stood there, frozen, waiting for another sound. After maybe 30 seconds, another crunch came, this time from the right. My heart was hammering now, every instinct screaming to run. I started back for the truck, moving fast, when a child's scream ripped through the night. It was raw, desperate, coming from the woods. I stopped dead, my blood running cold, caught between fear and the thought of a kid out there, needing help. That scream, that awful sound, it's still with me, haunting every quiet stretch of road I drive. I was in the middle of nowhere, North Dakota, a veteran trucker named Kevin, hauling through a freezing May morning 4 years ago. I'd been driving since lunch, pushing my semi to make Montana without stopping, but exhaustion was winning. I'd seen a purple dress, then kids' shoes, and finally a pile of children's clothes scattered across the highway, each discovery twisting my gut tighter. I'd stepped out to check, the cold air stinging, when a child's scream pierced the silence from the woods. It stopped me cold, heart pounding, torn between running back to my truck and the thought of a kid in danger. The scream was so real, so raw, it clawed at me. I couldn't just leave. Without thinking, I climbed into the cab, turned the truck, and aimed the headlights into the woods where the sound came from. The beams lit up, maybe 30 yards, and there they were, 3 or 4 figures, one holding a huge speaker. They ducked behind trees as the light hit them, but I saw enough. They weren't kids. They were adults, and that scream was fake, blasting from the speaker to lure me out there. My blood ran cold. I just sat there staring at the trees, my mind racing. Who does that? What were they planning? I reached for my phone to call the cops, hands shaking, when a loud thump hit the side of my truck. Something had been thrown from the other side of the road. I didn't wait to find out what. I swung the truck back toward the highway, heart in my throat, and floored it. In the rear view, I caught a glimpse of a figure on the roadside, shouting something I couldn't make out, then hurling another object. It smashed into my passenger window, cracking the glass with a sickening crunch. I didn't stop, didn't breathe, just drove. The dark woods blurring past, that scream still echoing in my head. The highway was empty. No cars, no lights, just me, and the feeling that I'd barely escaped something awful. I kept going, too scared to pull over, my dad's old cross necklace clenched in my fist. I made it to my drop in Montana, delivered the load, and crashed for 10 hours straight. When I woke, I called the police, told them everything about the clothes, the scream, the speaker, the attack. They said they'd check the woods and get back to me, but they never did. I've replayed that night 1,000 times, kicking myself for getting out of the truck. I should have kept driving, minded my own business, but the thought of a kid in trouble got to me. I still don't know what those people wanted. Were they trying to rob me? Worse? Why go through all that trouble with the clothes and the fake scream? The not knowing is what gets me. It's like a shadow that follows me on every lonely stretch of road. Trucking's a solitary job, and out there, when it's just you in the dark, your mind can turn every noise into a threat. I'm more cautious now, always checking my mirrors, keeping my doors locked. But sometimes, when the highway's quiet and the woods close in, I feel it again. That prickling on my neck, like someone's watching, waiting for me to make another mistake. That night taught me how fast things can go wrong, and how alone you really are when they do.